Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. The biggest racing game of all racing games is finally coming live to near all of you, and you will finally get to witness. What? This guy? Oh no.
With the upcoming release of Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, I think we should talk about one of Crash's least popular racing games. Hey guys, it's Franman here from Franman Entertainment, and today we're going to be talking about Crash Tag Team Racing. This is actually one of Crash's least favorite games, and for a lot of reasons that I'll cover throughout the rest of the video. It's mostly received a lot of positive reviews from the critics, which is a good thing, but when you look at it now, the game is like, eh. But, is it really that bad? Yes! Well, only one way to find out. I didn't put in those sound effects, guys. That actually came from the main game itself.
If you mess around with the buttons on the loading screen, you can make burp or fart sound effects.
Well, I guess that's one thing that's original about this game. I don't know any other video game where you go on a loading screen and press a bunch of buttons and freaking hear a bunch of farting and sound effects. So, hey, props to this game for being somewhat original.
Ooh, what a nice title screen we have here. What's that? Is that Crash Bandicoot in his original design? But this is Radical Entertainment, the same guys that developed Crash the Titans. Why would you redesign the character? Why would you do that? Oh well, it's whatever, I guess. So the game only lets me input 6 letters instead of 7 for a name, so I cannot be Franman. I have to be Fran, what the hell? Alright, now we can finally play the game. What? Drive the tracks option is locked?
So, you're telling me that the main game is locked? That doesn't make any sense. This is a racing game, and you have drive the tracks, which is an option for you to race, is locked. But the first option is enter the park. What?
That doesn't make any sense. On the back of the box, it specifically has it marketed towards the racing section. The pictures are bigger. But more than just racing, it's just there as a little addition. This isn't part of the main game. That doesn't even look like it's racing, and this looks like a completely different game. So if you actually want to race and play the main game itself, you have no choice but to enter the park.
So honestly, I don't know what the hell they were thinking about. Mixing platforming elements in a racing game doesn't really work as to why the game is Crash's least favorite racing game. If they would have stuck with the Crash Team Racing and Crash Nitro Kart formula, like for instance going to a hub world and then racing races to get trophies, that would have been fine. But doing this, yeah, that's not gonna cut it for a racing game.
So the game begins with a pair of chicken sports commentators, one named Chicken Gizzard Lips on the left, and his co-worker Stu on the right, which for some reason every time the camera cuts, he has a different style of hair or something on his head. I don't know. The two of them have announced the farewell race of Von Clutch's Motor World. A man named Ebenezer Von Clutch has done this due to his fabrication of the ultimate auto racing theme park due to the racetracks wreaking terror to the participants. Along with this, the park's power gems, which have kept the park active for a while, has been stolen. This only gives Von Clutch a few hours to get them back. Meanwhile, in a car chase, the Bandicoot gang is seen driving their asses as far away as they can from the evil Dr. Neo Cortex, his associate Engine, and his niece, Nina Cortex. For some reason, throwing chickens at them is going to stop them, but hey, if somebody's got a gun shooting at me, I'll do whatever I can. If I gotta throw a chicken, so be it. Of course, since all 6 of them are clumsy as hell, the 2 cars end up ending the chase with the head-on collision in front of the Motor World, which in this result has Von Clutch recruiting them for the assistance of obtaining the gems back. After all of that, the game finally gives you control of Crash Bandicoot outside the entrance of the Motor World. This little segment acts like some sort of tutorial, and the goal is to get to the very top. I gotta say, it's a very weird way to enter a park. In the park mode, you control him the exact same way just as you did back in Crash to Insanity, but it's a little bit more floaty. Every time Crash jumps, I feel like he hovers in the air for a sec, and that feels very awkward. Using the spin attack is different too. If you keep mashing the square button, Crash will continuously keep spinning until you stop pressing the button, and slamming on your belly acts the same way, but of course it also feels floaty. Mostly it's used for slamming the buttons and other measures too. You can also spin boxes and obtain coins, which you can use later in the game to make purchases on items. Collecting Wumpa Whip will temporarily double your coins for a short time. This part really offers no challenge, which makes sense since it's only the beginning, but don't be fooled. This is how the rest of the park is going to be like. Boring platforming and floaty controls. After Crash and the gang arrive at the top, Von Clutch is excited to see all of his favorite characters in the flesh due to him being a big fan of all of their video games. All except Cortex are willing to help get the gems back, but when Von Clutch mentions that whoever gets all the gems first gets the rights to own his park, Cortex quickly changes his mind. He also mentions that his beloved Black Power Gem is gone as well, and it's critical that he gets it back as soon as he can, or else Von Clutch will die. Engine also informs Cortex that this park could be the answers to achieve world domination. With the new Evil Sinister base and all of the churros they can eat, Cortex can finally be rid of the entire Bandicoot gang forever. His daydreaming is interrupted by a professional racer named Pasadena Opossum. She's hired by Von Clutch so that her victory is ensured that he gets to keep his ownership of the park. Cortex is also caught by surprise when he is introduced to the Jelly Park mascot, Willy Wumpa Cheeks. The name fits perfectly too because he looks like a pair of cheeks. He then also gives a riddle to where the first gem is located, and that is where the scavenger hunt begins. Now the game finally gets to let you roam around the park, and to be honest, it's really not all that exciting. While it is nice to walk around and interact with the characters, there really isn't nothing at all that makes it fun. The only enjoyment I get in this mode is the fact that you can hit the NPCs over and over and over again. Every time you hit one, they say something funny to you.
Ouch! I'm telling Mom if we had one.
Or they'll even break the fourth wall.
You're just lucky I don't have an attack animation.
Wow, the game has become self-aware.
Sometimes the NPCs can also follow you around and even get themselves killed.
Oops, my bad. Don't worry, he'll respawn.
What to do? I guess I'll just chill out with my sister Coco. Look how adorable she was. Ooh, look at that Tyrannosaurus Rex. That dinosaur was insane. In the castle.
What?
What are the odds? An NPC out of bounds in the skybox. Can you believe that? I was lucky enough to have this recorded, but this never happens.
I don't know how I'm gonna continue like this.
So the main purpose of the park is not only for the story mode, but for basically unlocking everything such as cars, characters, outfits, and tracks. When you first start, a key icon will appear on top of the character's head. By talking to them, you initiate a mission. These could be something as simple as collecting power crystals, a certain amount of coins, a key item, or a pair of keys. There are 5 different attractions to visit to find these items, and each one has its own theme. Completing the task will unlock a new feature for the Drive the Tracks mode. If you manage to collect enough power crystals on your journey, you can unlock a certain area in one of the attractions, and you can obtain one of the power gems. Doing this will also progress in the story mode and allow you to visit more attractions.
While it is a nice concept of going around collecting stuff to unlock stuff for a racing mode, I still don't like this idea. I shouldn't complain too much about it, because the game isn't challenging, but that's the point. It's a racing game that tries to be a platform at the same time, and it just doesn't work well. And not to mention, it drags on forever when you just want to unlock everything at once, just simply by racing. But you can't do that.
Well, since there's no reason to show any more of the park, there are still some things that we need to discuss. Since we all know roaming around a park doesn't kill you,
Did Crash just die?
that was known as a diorama. This and gags will probably be the only reason why you will want to play the park mode. With 34 dioramas and 12 gags to collect, it makes it worth your time. Or you can just search them on YouTube and watch them all for all I care. I gotta say, some of these dioramas look really painful to watch. One of them has Crash getting choked by a cow's tail and gets farted on at the end. Then a TNT is thrown right at his feet and he freaking explodes. And then this one, it just pains the crap out of me.
Oh.
That's right, you clearly saw Crash get shot in the fucking heart with a cannonball. There's no blood or anything, but that looks traumatizing, especially for a kid who plays this kind of game. But whatever. And the gags are just the gags. Even though that might be the saving grace for the park mode, it still pains me to how dumb it is to still collect items, crystals, tracks, cars, and power gems to unlock stuff for Drive the Tracks mode. At least you can still hit the NPCs. And talk with your buddies over and over and over again just to piss them off for not completing a mission.
Okay, Crash, what's the story? I need that fusion unit so I can show that stupid face Nina who's the best girl on the track, so GET MOVING! Oh.
It's even funny on some of the stuff they say when you do complete a mission for that character.
Howdy, Crash. You look like you gotta go potty. Want me to show you where the outhouse is?
Show me.
In case you haven't noticed, Pasadena is in love with Crash. Just listen to the stuff that she says throughout the entirety of the game.
Oh, hey, cutie. You ever seen me driving on those tracks there? You don't got nothing but good looks right now. Crash Bandicoot! How is it we keep running into each other? Why, Crash Bandicoot, sneaking up on a girl could get you in trouble.
And when you spin attack her, she gets all excited.
Whoa, you just get me excited. Stop whooping me. You got to bite. Ooh, you played too rough for me.
And then she's got the nerve to ask Crash for mouth to mouth, and the game will even tell you to just play the game already.
You need mouth to mouth or something?
Jesus. If all she wanted was to bang, why didn't she just say it? Poor Crash. And of course, what's a theme park without some carnival-style minigames? If you talk to this balloon guy, he lets you play some minigames, which is either bowling or a shooting game. These games serve no purpose but just to be there and to collect one power crystal for each one you play. The two bowling games are almost the same, with just one being harder than the other. And the shooting games just have a different setting, weapon, obstacle, or objective. One of them literally has you shoot piles of shit at animals, one shoots fish bones at mines to protect a submarine, one shoots TNT at weight stacks, and there's one where torpedoes are firing at jellyfishes. In short, they're boring as f***. Towards the end of the game, Crash finally retrieves all of the missing power gems and has won himself the ownership of the park. But a beat-up Cortex jumps in and suspects that someone is upstaging his efforts to make the park his own. This is true when Coco deduces that whoever stole the power gems in the first place have a connection with Wumpa Whip. Pasadena also confirms this, saying that there's been a trail of it at the scene of every stolen power gem. However, poor Crash is the one that's blamed because of his love for drinking the Wumpa Whip shakes. But Willie admits that it was him that stole it in the first place, and the black power gem as well. Von Clutch is struck with disbelief, and Willie says in a Scooby-Doo fashion,
"And I would have succeeded too if it wasn't for you meddling bandicoots."
And Willie flees to Astroland to blast off into space with a rocket ship. With all of this, the gang decides to stop Willie, retrieve the black power gem, and save Von Clutch from death. As Crash enters into Astroland, he finds Willie entering a rocket to get ready for liftoff, but Crash finds a nearby lever that he pulls and aborts the rocket from taking off into space. Willie is then grabbed by the nose from Crunch, and Pasadena demands him to give back the stolen black power gem. But Willie ends up getting shot by Cortex inside his battleship, and Willie is just left to be nothing but a puddle of liquid. He turns his attention to the Bandicoot gang and attempts to kill them due to them ruining his plan to take over the park. but Crunch protects them with the metal floorboard and has Crash throw a live chicken into the ship's main rotor and causing it to malfunction, which leaves Cortex defeated and swears that he will meet them once again. As the Bandicoots are handed the right to the park, Coco and the gang decide to give the ownership back to Ebenezer Von Clutch. But after failing to retrieve the Black Power Gem, Von Clutch dies and the gang mourn over his death. However, Crash is sucking out the remaining Wumpa Whip from Willie's nose and begins to choke on the Black Power Gem. This causes him to spit it out and ricocheting it back into the dead Von Clutch, which brings him back to life. He thanks Crash and gives all the Bandicoots free lifetime passes to the park. It was almost a happy ending until Crash's dumbass accidentally knocks the Black Power Gem out of Von Clutch from a friendly slap, which ends up killing him and making Crash jump in his car and drive away from the park, which leaves Coco, Crunch, and Pasadena behind.
And that's that, ladies and gentlemen. That's all of Park Mode and the story. While the story was actually quite simple and nice and watching those cutscenes and everything, the Park Mode was something that nobody could really remember well. And only because of its boring platforming and its really tedious way of unlocking things such as the characters and the tracks and cars and stuff, it just wasn't fun. But it wasn't bad either. I see what they try to do. I mean, it didn't work, but hey, it still was somewhat enjoyable, and at least the cutscenes were cool to watch too.
Well, since we finally got that out of the way, now we can finally talk about the Drive the Tracks mode.
And this is what the game should have focused on in the first place. This is the racing part, which is what the game should be.
Drive the Tracks mode offers 3 types of driving games. One is racing, which you guys should know what it is. Battle Arena is just blasting your friends with a weapon to get the most points. And Stunt Arena lets you do crazy stunts to rack up the most points in 5 minutes or less. Let's take a look at the racing mode. Well, looks like it has more to offer than just racing. Fine, I'll talk about them. Crashinator has you drive around the track in 1 lap and has you smash the obstacles with targets on them to rack up the most amount of points before you finish a lap. Each track is all different in terms of objects and settings, but the goal is still the same. Fast Lap is basically time trial like in Mario Kart, but the only difference is that you do it in 1 lap instead of the usual 3 laps. It's really easy to do and offers no challenge whatsoever. Rolling Thunder has your character equipped with a weapon, and your goal is to basically blow up as many vehicles and characters before you finish 1 lap. The problem with this mode is that the AI is so dumb, they literally will slow down on purpose to keep at a distance where it is easy for you to shoot at them. Why they don't try to drive away or use an item at you is beyond me. And Run and Gun has your character shooting at preset targets around the track, and you have to shoot most of them down before you finish the first lap. In short, these extra sub-modes squeezed in the racing mode offer very little, and it's only there for 1 crystal and for boredom. If you really want to be entertained for the next 5 minutes of playing this game, just stick with regular racing mode. Racing mode also lets you choose your AI difficulty, which to be honest are all the same, and the speed classes don't really change at all either. I always choose hard and insane, but no matter which I choose, it's still a very easy game.
Wow, I didn't realize that the racing mode could have so many things and it turns out to suck at the same time. But let's hope that the racing mode itself, just racing, will be good.
Oh, dairy berries!
Okay.
Well, this isn't your average racing mode. While it does follow the aspects of the older Crash racing games such as collecting items to throw at your opponents and humorous quotes the characters will say from time to time,
That wasn't nice. Sorry!
its new features that it adds to spice up the racing is clashing with another racer.
Hey, not so hard!
By doing this, you work as a team with that said racer you clashed with, your cars transform into a different vehicle, and you get to shoot your opponents with a built-in turret in the back of the car. And this is where the game is actually kind of fun. But at the same time, it almost feels too easy when playing with AIs, since they literally don't do anything to stop you. Not to mention, you can still pick up items and you can use them behind you and throw it back at your enemies. Some of the items crack me up big time. Of course, you've seen the chicken one, but you can throw a large cow and the explosion of the meat can hit at least 4 players at the same time.
Wanted.
You can also throw a submarine, a piano, and a yelling fireball guy. However, your ammo is not unlimited, so you aren't all that OP, but nevertheless, it's still too easy. I will say what makes this fun is the fact that you get to see your favorite characters blowing each other up, and they like to say funny things to each other.
What's it like being beat up by a girl?
But unfortunately, the fun only lasts for a few minutes. After you have raced at least 5 races and exhaust yourself with constant clashing and explosions, you'll start to get pretty bored of racing in this game, and might want to put it up and play something like Crash Team Racing.
Even though the racing mode may not offer that much entertainment, the character quotes are still something to laugh about and to enjoy.
Sticks and stones. I know you have a ready mind.
That hurt! Thank you! You're trying to kill me, aren't you? How can I thank you? My eyeball! I love that eyeball!
Yeah, you need to go. Maybe you should get a better car. Cookalicious! Yes! The damage looks uber cool.
Oh, I love that rumbling sensation. My car!
It's okay, honey. It hurts me more than you.
Oh, I am a fool! I live for reckless behavior!
Crash, where's the fusion unit? If this is a joke, I don't get it.
Let's think about getting
Alright, and that does it for Crash Tag Team Racing. But before I give my final verdict to this game, there is still something that I must share with you guys, and it is the stupidest thing this game has to offer. Check this out.
Well, all that hard work you did in park mode that got you those tracks, cars, and characters, maybe it's time for some multiplayer action with a friend. I mean, everything is unlocked, right? Nope! This stupid ass game has the nerve to make you bust your ass in multiplayer mode to unlock everything once again from the start. You have to grind on coins to unlock cars, tracks, characters, speed, difficulty, and outfits. Are you kidding me? We did all this already. Why do we have to do this again? This is probably one of the worst multiplayer modes I have ever played.
Now, it is time for me to give my final verdict for Crash Tag Team Racing for the PlayStation 2. I rate this game to be okay.
I will say flat out this is not a really good racing game. It suffers from an identity issue of it trying to be an adventurer platformer with racing elements to it, but like I said at the beginning of the video, it markets the game to be a racing game, but it turned out to be something completely different. It's not to say that this is a bad game, but it's not a good game either. I will give it credit though for its creative concept of trying different things the previous Crash racing games hasn't done, and of course its funny character dialogue. But unfortunately the poor game suffers from boredom with the lack of replayability, the lack of genre focusing, glitches, floaty controls, and difficulty. There's nothing wrong with trying something different, but when the development is executed poorly, the product results in a mess of a racing game. At least the characters stuck with their original design, and at least it almost felt like a Crash game, in a way. If you have this game lying around in your house, maybe you should play it just one time to see what I'm talking about. Or you can find it online if you don't own the game yourself. But if you really want to play a good Crash racing game, the answer is Crash Team Racing for PlayStation 1. Or you can wait for the remake on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
Alrighty guys, that'll do it for the Crash Tag Team Racing video game review for the PlayStation 2. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If there's something that I should have improved on, please comment down below because this is my first video game review and I just want to see what your guys' opinion is on this. Was it good or was it bad? Please let me know. That'll really help me out. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. That's really going to help me out, and I appreciate it. And also, please share it with your friends as well and on social media. Well, I gotta go, and I'm very excited for the Crash Team Racing Natural Field remake to come out for the Switch and PS4. I'll see you guys when that time comes. So, have a good day, and as always, stay fantastic.